Hello, sisters. This is your sister Via. Apologize because this should have been done yesterday, but I had some things going on personally and health wise that so I didn't get with my sisters yesterday. So here I am today, and today I want to talk to you about Working Mother's Day, which was yesterday. How about that? In the midst of the month that we celebrate women, we are also celebrating the things that women do and how magnificent we are at doing the things that we do. So um, I wanted to, as a Black mother, I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned uh, through the course of being a mother. I was a became a mother when I was 16 years old. I had my first son, and he was born with sleep apnea. And so he had to sleep on my chest um, to remind himself to breathe. And so for the first 3 years of his life, he actually slept with me um, so that his breathing would match mine. He also was my colicky baby. And my mom would get home at midnight from her job, and she would take over because I had been walking and doing everything I could in my power to soothe this little baby. And so my mom would come in and she would take over at midnight so that I could get some rest and go to school. Um, I was fighting against a lot of preconceived ideas about uh, young mothers. A lot of them were negative. They were telling me that, oh, you'll never finish high school now. Um, you're just going to be like all the other girls and just hook up with some guy and have a bunch of babies and raise them all on welfare and just all this kind of stuff. Well, first of all, I'm a Sagittarius. Second of all, you don't tell me what I can't do because that just motivates me to prove you wrong. So I graduated early and went back to high school to march with my class. Um, and Brandon was my only child for 7 years. He was 7 years old when I had my daughter, and her dad and I were together. Uh, so, being a single mom, being a teenage mom, is not recommended. I will put it like that. It was very difficult. And even though I had the support of my mother, it was still very difficult. There were a lot of times when I was unsure of what we were going to eat. There were times when my mother and I were arguing over his care. Uh, so, those are things that young mothers have to face. Um, I understand that having my son that young gave me an understanding of why God elicited uh, that marriage is supposed to come first and then you start having children. I am also a realist, and I know that in the day and time that we live, that's a rarity. Uh, but that was God's plan so that women would have the support that they needed from their husbands in helping to raise their children. I also experienced that with my second child, Shar, because her dad and I were together, and we were happily married for 25 years. So she got the whole experience of having a mother and a dad in the home with her. Um, being a black woman in a small town, because at that time I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was a fairly small town. We're talking the 70s and 80s. There was still discrimination. There were still um, jobs that I did not get that I was overly qualified for. And to me, that's just a statement that says you have more education than we thought. Excuse me. So, uh, and being married to a man who was not black also came with a whole lot of different issues and problems in a small town. Uh, there was one time my husband and I had gone to Grand Lake for our little getaway, and we went into this restaurant, and everybody in there stopped talking and looked at us. And the only welcoming smile was from the waitress that took seated us and took our order. We were there probably 3 days, and I never saw another person of color until the day we were getting ready to leave, and we had stopped by a Family Dollar, and a woman of color was coming out at the same time that I was going in, and she's just like, "Oh my goodness, it is so good to see someone that looks like me." And it's like, yes, it is, it is. And so we kind of got a laugh out of that. Um, so it was There was another time as a mother, Sharice Shar had gotten sick at school. I was at work, so her dad was able to go and pick her up from school, and they wouldn't let him leave with her because they didn't believe he was her dad. And to put it bluntly, I went ape crazy on the administration at that point, and even took it to the school board, uh, because that shouldn't happen to any child, and I wasn't going to let it happen to my child, and they got away with it. Um, so that was kind of like the some of the things that we encountered as an interracial family or mixed race family. Uh, I often had women, it was mostly women, ask me, why did I marry a white man, uh, as though I had gone out and lined men up against a wall and said, okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, this is the one that I choose. It wasn't like that at all. And my answer to those women, whenever they would mention that to me, is if I had found a black man that treated me as well as the white man, I would have married a black man. Uh, my husband treated me like a queen. He treated our daughter like a princess. Um, she still maintains that princess attitude today. And what I mean by that is being able to rule her corner of the world, being able to have her boundaries firmly in place, um, and knowing that you have to work hard for the things that you want, um, and you celebrate the moments of success. Um, so I hope that this working Mother's Day, uh, even though it's a day late, will inspire you, my sisters, to comment, to let me know if you've experienced some of these things, whether you live in a small town or a big city. Um, Being a mother comes with a lot of uh, a lot of things that we are not trained for. It's always interesting to me to know that we can get 30 days. You get trained for a new job and then you have 90 days probation to see if this is a place that you fit in and that fits you. We don't get that with childbirth or becoming a mother. We don't often understand what that brings to the table. And it's a lot. But it is one of the most satisfying and gratifying and loving relationships that a mother will ever have. And if done properly, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on it, done properly, your relationship with your children is supposed to change, where you don't no longer look at them as children, but as your adult son or your adult daughter. And you began to treat them as adults and let them make their mistakes and let them bump their head and let them figure their life out. Because just like the older moms and grandmas, uh, that's why grandmas are so good at what they do, because they've had the experience of being a mom. Um, and whether you have a loving relationship with your mom or your grandma or an aunt or even a sister, those are relationships that we learn how to mother from. Um, and if you have good support systems, uh, it's often not as difficult as you just doing it all by yourself. But there are organizations and there are agencies that have come along since the 70s and the 80s to help single mothers, to help mothers, period. That's why they have Mother's Day Out programs. You can take advantage of that once a week or twice a week. I worked at a Mother's Day Out program, um, and it wasn't hard. You go one day a week and take care of the kids. So mom can have a break during the week. There are groups of moms who meet up and with their children and they do fun activities together with their children. So you have a circle of support. So don't think you have to go if you're a single mom, um, or even if you're a mom with a spouse. The load of mothering still falls on you. Um, I applaud all the single dads out there for stepping up and doing the hard stuff. Uh, that was not something that was very prevalent when I was growing up. It was always just single moms. So to see dads stepping up and becoming single parents and taking on that role to raise their children, I applaud them. Because they're stepping into something that is foreign, something that is not expected, and something that is very difficult, even if you're a mom. Um, so if it's hard on us, it's equally or more so harder on a man. Um, so if you know a single dad, give him a pat on the shoulder and encourage him as well because he's doing a really difficult job. So I hope you've enjoyed my Working Mother's Day uh, talk. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. And we will talk later. Love you. You can always call your sister.